You won't believe what people have actually tried to send through the mail. From giant taxidermied animals to haunted artifacts and even live creatures, the post office has seen it all. But not everything makes it to its destination. Some packages are so bizarre, unsafe, or just plain ridiculous that postal workers have no choice but to reject them. Let's take a look at some of the craziest shipments that got a big fat return to sender. 1. Someone tried to mail an entire car engine without a box. They simply slapped a shipping label on the metal block and hoped for the best. The post office refused, stating that a hunk of metal weighing hundreds of pounds does not qualify as an acceptable parcel. 2. A man attempted to send a giant taxidermied moose head through standard mail. The issue? He didn't package it, just put a shipping label on its antlers. Postal workers refused, stating that wildlife, even preserved, needs proper shipping. The sender was frustrated, saying, "Well, it's not like it's going to run away." 3. A package arrived at the sorting center shaking violently. When workers inspected it, they found a box full of Mexican jumping beans, tiny seeds that move when warmed. The post office rejected it, stating, "Mail should not appear to be alive unless it actually is." 4. Someone attempted to send an entire chandelier without any box or padding, just a shipping label attached to one of the arms. The post office immediately rejected it, stating that a fragile, glass-covered light fixture without protection is basically a disaster waiting to happen. The sender was genuinely surprised, saying, "Well, I thought if I marked it fragile, they'd handle it carefully." 5. Someone tried to mail a very realistic, life-size doll without a box, just a shipping label stuck to its clothing. Postal workers were horrified, briefly thinking it was a real person. The package was immediately rejected, and the sender was questioned about their strange shipping choices. If you saw something like this rolling down a conveyor belt, would you panic? 6. A package was rejected after a worker noticed tiny legs crawling out of a hole in the box. Upon opening it, they found hundreds of cockroaches that had chewed through their container. The sender later claimed it was for scientific research, but the post office wasn't interested in playing host to an insect apocalypse. The package was immediately removed and disposed of according to biohazard protocols. 7. Someone attempted to mail a massive block of ice, claiming it was precious Arctic ice for a science experiment. The post office refused, stating that delivering a puddle is not part of our job. By the time the sender came to collect it, all that was left was a soggy shipping label. 8. An unknown sender mailed a package filled with dog poop to a well-known corporation's headquarters. The company refused to accept the package, and the post office rejected any further similar deliveries. No one ever figured out who sent it or why. Do you think this was a prank, a protest, or just someone having a really bad day? 9. A person attempted to mail a beehive, with the bees still inside. The buzzing tipped off the postal workers, who quickly sent it back. Apparently, the sender thought it would be fine as long as the bees were calm. Because nothing says safe shipping like thousands of enclosed, confused bees. 10. Someone mailed a box filled with loose glitter. When the package burst open in transit, it coated an entire sorting facility in sparkles. Postal workers spent weeks trying to remove the glitter, later calling it the most persistent mess in postal history. The sender was banned from shipping any future glitter-related disasters. 11. Someone attempted to mail a completely transparent package with no wrapping or box, just a clear plastic case holding the contents. Postal workers refused to send it, stating that mail must have at least some level of privacy. The recipient later joked, "I already knew what was inside before I opened it." 12. A strong, nose-burning smell filled the sorting center as workers traced it back to a package. Inside, a block of durian-flavored cheese that customs refused to process, classifying it as a biological weapon against good air quality. The post office rejected it, stating that food with extreme odors requires proper sealing. 13. The moment workers picked up the package, they knew something was wrong. It was dripping wet. Inside, a bag of unsealed goldfish crackers that had turned into a mushy disaster. The sender had no idea that excess moisture could turn their beloved snack into an inedible mess. 14. A man attempted to mail a taxidermied bat, claiming it was a historical artifact. Postal workers refused to process it, stating that mailing dead animals without proper authorization is not allowed. The sender insisted it was for scientific research, but the post office wasn't interested in handling what one worker called the creepiest package of the month. 15. A postal worker heard a loud pop, followed by an overwhelming spicy aroma. When they investigated, they found a gallon-sized bag of homemade chili had burst mid-transit, covering everything in thick red sauce. The post office rejected it, stating, "We deliver packages, not dinner explosions." 16. A small potted plant, with soil spilling out everywhere, arrived at the sorting center, creating a mini indoor garden. Postal workers rejected it immediately, stating that loose dirt does not qualify as proper packaging. 17. A person tried to mail a full-sized turkey, alive. The bird had been stuffed into a box with some air holes, but the package was immediately rejected when it started gobbling loudly in the middle of the facility. 18. Someone shipped a plastic bag filled with live crickets to a pet store, but the bag tore open in transit, releasing hundreds of chirping insects into the sorting facility. Workers spent hours chasing them down, and needless to say, the package was never delivered. 19. A package was flagged after leaking neon green goo onto other shipments. Workers, fearing a hazardous chemical spill, activated hazmat protocols, only to discover it was just a failed batch of homemade glow-in-the-dark slime. The post office rejected it, stating, "If it glows, it goes back to the sender." 20. A woman once mailed a marriage proposal on a frozen fish. The fish thawed in transit, making for the worst-smelling proposal in history. The recipient was horrified and said no, not because they didn't love the person, but because they couldn't get the smell out of their house for weeks. 21. Someone attempted to ship a taxidermy alligator dressed in a Hawaiian shirt. The post office rejected it. Not just because it wasn't in a box, but because the 6-foot-long reptile was causing a logistical nightmare. Workers were understandably reluctant to load a lifelike grinning gator onto the conveyor belt. 22. A person attempted to ship a fully decorated Christmas wreath, but instead of putting it in a box, they just attached a shipping label to the pine branches. By the time it arrived at the sorting facility, half the decorations had fallen off, and it looked more like a pile of broken twigs with glitter. 23. Someone attempted to mail a snowblower, completely assembled, with gas still inside the tank. Postal workers immediately rejected it, citing hazardous material regulations. The sender argued, "But it's winter-proof." The post office responded, "We're more concerned about fire hazards than snowdrifts." 24. A snow globe labeled "extremely fragile" arrived at the sorting center already shattered. The liquid had leaked onto other packages, making it look like a suspicious chemical spill. The post office refused to process it, marking it as a liquid hazard in transit. 25. Someone attempted to mail a pumpkin with a shipping label stuck directly on the rind. While technically allowed, the post office rejected it after the pumpkin cracked in transit, leaking pulp onto other packages. One worker later joked, "We deliver mail, not pumpkin pie ingredients." 26. Someone mailed a life-sized mannequin with no box, just a label stuck to its forehead. As it rolled through the sorting center, multiple workers mistook it for an actual person, causing a minor panic. Security was called before someone finally realized it wasn't breathing. The post office rejected the package, labeling it as unnecessarily disturbing cargo. 27. A package was rejected after it started shaking violently in transit, causing panic among postal workers. When inspected, it turned out to contain a malfunctioning robotic dog toy that had somehow activated mid-shipment. The toy's random barking and movements convinced some workers that a live animal had been stuffed inside, leading to an unnecessary emergency call. 28. A woman tried to mail a wedding dress, but instead of folding it into a box, she just stuffed it into a plastic grocery bag with a shipping label on it. The post office refused it, stating that bridal wear deserves better. 29. Sorting workers heard muffled screams coming from inside a box. They cautiously opened it and found a parrot, furiously mimicking human voices. One worker swore they heard it yell, "Help me!" before the box was opened. The post office rejected it instantly, though some employees admitted they were kind of impressed by the bird's performance. 30. Someone mailed a hollowed-out book with a hidden compartment inside. When scanned, postal workers noticed something suspicious and opened it, only to find a single peanut inside. The sender later admitted it was an artistic statement about hidden meaning in literature. The post office labeled it a waste of time. 31. A man tried to mail a treadmill, convinced that if he could carry it to the post office, they should be able to deliver it. Postal workers were less enthusiastic about the idea and immediately rejected it, explaining that mailing fitness equipment is not part of their workout routine. The man left frustrated, muttering that he should have just walked it to its destination. 32. A package arrived entirely covered in foil, making it look suspiciously like a reflective, potentially dangerous object. The post office refused to process it until authorities confirmed it was just someone's weird idea of extra secure packaging. 33. A person tried to mail an entire roll of duct tape without a box. Just the tape itself, label slapped on the side. The post office rejected it, explaining that duct tape might fix everything, but it doesn't count as a package. The sender argued, "I thought it was self-packaging." Do you think they should have let this one through? 34. Someone mailed a box labeled "Warning, highly toxic. Handle with extreme care." Workers immediately evacuated the sorting facility and called hazardous materials specialists to assess the situation. When they finally opened it, they found a single potato. The sender later admitted they wanted to see how seriously the post office took safety labels. The answer: very seriously. 35. A prankster sent a jack-in-the-box, rigged so it would pop open as soon as the box was lifted. Postal workers were not amused when a creepy clown face launched itself at them. The package was immediately rejected, and the sender was warned never to do it again. 36. A heavy object suddenly started rolling across the sorting center floor, sending workers scrambling to catch it. When they finally stopped it, they realized it was a bowling ball, with a shipping label slapped directly on it. The post office rejected it, stating, "Mail is supposed to roll through the system, not literally roll through it." 37. Someone mailed a single slice of pizza in a regular envelope. By the time it reached the recipient, it was flattened, greasy, and barely recognizable. The sender later admitted they just wanted to see if pizza could survive the postal system. It couldn't. 38. A prankster mailed a box filled entirely with packing peanuts and one tiny note that read, "Somewhere in here is a gift. Good luck." The recipient spent an hour sifting through the mess, only to find the note saying, "Just kidding." The post office later marked the sender as a repeat prank offender and warned them not to waste postal resources. 39. A plate of spaghetti, complete with sauce and a fork, showed up at the post office wrapped in plastic wrap. A confused worker held it up and asked, "Is this somebody's lunch or an actual shipment?" The post office immediately rejected it, stating that loose food items are not considered proper parcels. The sender complained, "But I even included utensils." 40. A package was rejected after it was found covered in melted wax and stamped with an old-fashioned seal, giving it the appearance of a medieval scroll. Postal workers refused to deliver it because the wax was too thick to scan, and they had no way of confirming the contents. The sender later admitted they wanted to create a true vintage mailing experience. 41. Someone attempted to mail a live lobster, thinking it would survive the trip if packed with ice. The problem? The ice melted, and the lobster escaped inside the delivery truck. It was eventually found hiding behind a stack of envelopes, very much alive. 42. A man sent a package labeled "Top Secret, Do Not Open Without Clearance." When postal workers flagged it for inspection, they found it contained a single rubber duck. The sender later admitted it was just a joke, but it still caused unnecessary security concerns. 43. A man mailed a loaf of homemade banana bread, but forgot to seal the bag properly. By the time it arrived, it had grown a thick layer of mold and was promptly rejected. 44. A package was rejected when the post office realized it was just a loose rubber duck with an address written on it. The sender later admitted they were testing how minimalist they could go with packaging. Turns out, a duck doesn't count as an envelope. 45. A person mailed a rubber chicken that, for some reason, kept squeaking throughout the journey. Every time the package was moved, it let out a horrifying noise. Postal workers were terrified and slightly amused. 46. Someone tried to mail a fully assembled barbecue grill with charcoal still inside. The post office rejected it, stating that flammable materials cannot be shipped, especially not in a device designed to start fires. The sender was confused, saying, "But I didn't light it." 47. Someone sent a box labeled "Extremely Fragile, Handle with Care," covered in at least 50 warning stickers. When workers carefully opened it, they found a single rubber duck inside. The sender later admitted they just wanted to see if excessive labeling would actually make a difference in how carefully the package was handled. 48. A package labeled "Do Not Open Until 2099" arrived at a sorting center with no return address. Workers, curious about what was inside, debated whether they should follow the instructions or check for suspicious contents. After an inspection, they found an empty box. The sender later admitted they wanted to see if their package would actually sit undisturbed for decades. The answer? No. Curiosity got the better of everyone. 49. A package labeled "Caution, Extremely Fragile" arrived squished and oozing something sticky. Inside, a cube of Jell-O in a flimsy plastic container. It had leaked all over other packages, forcing workers to separate and clean the affected mail. The sender later admitted, "I wanted to see if Jell-O could survive shipping. It didn't." 50. A woman sent her friend a bouquet of dandelions, but because she didn't seal the box by the time it arrived, the seeds had scattered everywhere, effectively turning the sorting center into a miniature field of weeds. Workers were still pulling out dandelion fluff from machinery days later. 51. A person attempted to mail a fully assembled trampoline, arguing that if it could be jumped on, it should be sturdy enough for shipping. The post office disagreed, stating that spring-loaded sports equipment must be properly disassembled for transit. 52. A woman attempted to mail a small fish tank filled with water and live fish. It didn't take long for postal workers to realize something was off when the box started sloshing around. The package was immediately rejected, and the sender was told, "We ship a lot of things, but aquariums are not one of them." The fish, thankfully, survived their brief adventure in illegal logistics. 53. A giant rolled-up carpet arrived at the post office with a shipping label stuck directly onto it. No box, no wrapping, just fabric and optimism. Postal workers stared at it for a moment before rejecting it, stating that mail is not a magic carpet ride. The sender argued, if it can fit through a door, it should fit through the postal system. 54. Someone tried to ship a full suit of medieval armor by just sticking an address label on the chest plate. No box, no padding, just a knight's armor set rolling through the postal system. Unsurprisingly, the post office rejected it. While they ship packages across time zones, they draw the line at shipping relics across centuries. 55. A mystery package arrived at a post office, buzzing. Concerned, workers carefully inspected it and immediately called the bomb squad. After an intense investigation, they discovered it was just an electric toothbrush that had been accidentally left in the on position. The sender was told to be more careful, but at least they gave the post office a heart-pounding morning. 56. A box labeled "Thanksgiving Dinner." Surprise arrived at the sorting center reeking of decay. Inside, a fully cooked turkey that had been mailed in the middle of summer. The juices had soaked through the cardboard, and workers described the smell as the fastest way to ruin an appetite. The post office rejected it as a biohazardous meat disaster. 57. Someone tried to mail a mini fridge, the kind used in dorm rooms, without any packaging, just a label slapped on the door. The post office rejected it for being too bulky and unpackaged. The sender was shocked, arguing, "Well, it's made to hold things." Do you think they had a point, or was this just a shipping disaster waiting to happen? 58. A person tried to mail a coconut by simply writing the recipient's address on the shell. While some novelty mailing services allow this under special conditions, the post office rejected it because it was unsecured, fragile, and prone to rolling away mid-delivery. The sender was disappointed, but admitted they should have at least wrapped it in bubble wrap. 59. Someone mailed a full-length mirror without any padding. When asked why they didn't package it properly, the sender simply said, "I thought the glass was strong enough." Spoiler alert, it wasn't. The mirror shattered in transit, and postal workers were left cleaning up an unlucky mess. 60. A box arrived leaking a bright green liquid, setting off alarms at the sorting facility. Fearing it was something hazardous, workers prepared for the worst. Turns out, it was just a kid's science experiment gone wrong, a failed attempt at making glow-in-the-dark slime. The only thing that actually glowed, the warning label saying, "Return to sender." 61. Someone mailed a perfume bottle, but they didn't secure the cap properly. During transit, the fragrance leaked onto dozens of other packages, leading to a post office that smelled like an over-perfumed department store. Workers had to dispose of multiple contaminated packages, and one even complained of a headache that lasted all day. 62. A plain, unmarked box sat ominously in the sorting center, looking innocent, until workers opened it and found a single human tooth inside. No name, no return address, just a tooth. One postal worker muttered, "We don't get paid enough for this." The real mystery remains. Who mails a tooth with no explanation? 63. A package was rejected when postal workers noticed it was twitching. When they cautiously opened it, they found a robotic fish inside that had been accidentally turned on. The sender later admitted they had forgotten to remove the batteries and joked, "Well, at least I know it survived the trip." 64. A package arrived at the post office labeled, "Do not open until 2050." Inside, just a single, empty envelope. The sender later revealed they wanted to see if the box would remain in storage for decades, but instead, it was promptly returned. 65. Someone mailed a Ziploc bag full of sand, labeled "Beach in a Bag." Unfortunately, the bag split open mid-transit, leaving a trail of sand throughout the sorting facility. Workers joked that the post office just got an unexpected coastal renovation. 66. Sorting workers had seen it all, until a package arrived that was just a single pair of underwear with a shipping label stuck to the waistband. One worker held it up with 2 fingers and sighed. "You know, some days this job makes you question humanity." The post office rejected it, citing improper packaging and highly questionable mailing choices. 67. A package labeled "Handle with Care, Extremely Fragile" arrived at the sorting center. Inside, a single ice cube. By the time it was inspected, all that remained was a wet napkin and a note that read, "RIP Ice Cube." The post office rejected it for insufficient packaging of perishable items. 68. A box labeled "Extremely Dangerous, Do Not Shake" arrived at a post office. Naturally, workers were alarmed. After careful inspection, it turned out to be a snow globe. The sender thought the label would prevent damage. Instead, it just gave everyone a mild panic attack. 69. A man once mailed a pair of shoes, but instead of putting them in a box, he just taped the shipping label directly onto the soles. The post office refused to ship them, citing excessive exposure to the elements. The sender was frustrated, arguing that shoes are meant to travel, but rules are rules. 70. Someone sent a life-size cardboard cutout of themselves as a birthday surprise for a friend. However, the post office rejected it because it wasn't properly folded or packaged. Instead, it arrived at the sorting center standing upright, leaning against the wall like some eerie, silent observer. 71. A prankster tried to mail a box filled with nothing but packing peanuts and a single note that read, "Good luck finding it." The recipient spent hours searching through the mess, only to find that there was nothing else inside. The post office wasn't amused, but the prankster definitely got the reaction they were hoping for. 72. A package arrived at the post office leaking red liquid. Fearing the worst, workers opened it cautiously, only to find it was just a broken bottle of ketchup. The sender later admitted they forgot to tighten the lid, turning a simple food delivery into a full-blown crime scene scenario. 73. Someone mailed a fully inflated beach ball with a shipping label stuck directly on it. The problem? The post office didn't want to risk it popping in transit. The sender tried arguing that it's just air, but in the end, the ball had to be deflated or rejected. 74. A person tried to mail a balloon filled with helium, thinking it would be a fun surprise upon opening. Unfortunately, the balloon expanded during transit, causing the box to pop open in the middle of a sorting center. Postal workers, startled by the sudden explosion, immediately marked the package as an unacceptable shipping hazard. 75. Tiny flickering lights inside a package caught the attention of postal workers. When they opened it, they found a jar of fireflies still alive and glowing. The post office immediately rejected it, stating, "Mail should not light up on its own." By the time the sender got the package back, the jar was empty. Somewhere along the way, the fireflies had escaped into the facility, and workers swore they kept seeing tiny flashes in the dark corners of the building for weeks. 76. Someone sent a package with an elaborate, hand-drawn treasure map on the outside of the box, but with no actual address or return information. The post office rejected it, stating that we deliver mail, not mysteries. The sender later claimed, "I wanted to see if the map could lead someone to its true destination." 77. Someone attempted to send a pair of rollerblades by just tying them together with string and attaching a shipping label. The post office refused, stating that rolling objects in transit pose a hazard to other packages. The sender argued, "But that's their whole purpose." 78. A package was returned when workers discovered it contained nothing but an old typewriter covered in cobwebs. The sender later revealed they were trying to send a haunted artifact to a ghost enthusiast. The post office wanted no part in it. 79. Someone mailed an entire set of bowling pins, but instead of boxing them, they just tied them together with string and stuck a label on the bundle. The post office rejected it, stating that while they'd seen weirdly shaped packages before, this was a first. 80. A package arrived labeled "Top Secret, Do Not X-Ray." Naturally, this immediately triggered suspicion. Postal inspectors opened it, expecting something highly classified. Inside? A single peanut butter sandwich. The sender later said it was just a joke, but the post office did not find it funny. 81. A woman once mailed a single banana, writing the recipient's address directly onto the peel. It made it halfway through the delivery process before being rejected. Not because it was a banana, but because it had started to rot. The moral of the story? If you're going to mail fruit, do it fast. 82. A person attempted to send a loaf of bread with no packaging, just a shipping label stuck to the crust. The post office refused it, arguing that bread, no matter how sturdy, is not an acceptable mailing surface. 83. A prankster sent a box labeled "Live Alligator" inside. The post office refused to process it, only to find out later that it was completely empty. The sender claimed it was just a harmless joke, but postal workers weren't laughing. 84. A package arrived shaking violently. Alarmed, postal workers carefully opened it, only to find a wind-up toy inside that had been activated during transit. The sender later admitted they had wound it up on purpose to give the mail carriers a little excitement. 85. A man once tried to mail a life-size teddy bear, hoping it would arrive as a cute surprise for his niece. However, instead of putting it in a box, he just wrapped it in plastic wrap and stuck a label on it. The post office rejected it, citing concerns that giant stuffed animals are not considered appropriate mailing containers. 86. Someone mailed a fully assembled rocking chair. No box, no wrapping, just a rocking chair with a label stuck to the seat. The post office refused to ship it, saying, "We're not in the furniture delivery business." 87. A package arrived at a sorting center, making strange noises, causing workers to hesitate before opening it. Fearing the worst, they carefully unsealed it and discovered a Furby. The battery-powered toy had somehow turned on mid-transit and was whispering unsettling phrases like, "I see you," and "Let's play," in the darkness of the box. The post office immediately sent it back, refusing to deal with what one worker called a possessed electronic nightmare. 88. Someone tried to mail a very heavy rock without a box, just a shipping label stuck directly onto it. The post office rejected it, stating that mailing raw geology is not part of our job. The sender insisted, but it's nature's packaging. Do you think they had a valid argument, or was this just an impractical shipping fail? 89. Someone attempted to mail a single-cooked spaghetti noodle inside a plastic sleeve with a shipping label attached. The post office rejected it, stating that a single strand of pasta does not meet the requirements for a valid mailing item. The sender later admitted they were just testing how far the limits of the postal system could be pushed. 90. A package arrived covered in hazard stickers and marked with extremely dangerous "Do not open." Postal workers immediately alerted authorities. When they opened it, they found a pack of bubblegum. The sender later admitted they thought it would be funny to make their package look suspicious. It wasn't. 91. A single pencil, carefully wrapped in layers upon layers of bubble wrap, inside a giant shoebox, left workers speechless. When they finally unwrapped it, they rejected the shipment, citing excessive and unnecessary packaging for such a small item. One worker joked, "Did they think we were launching this thing into space?" 92. A person attempted to mail an entire medieval-style catapult, fully assembled. The post office rejected it, citing excessive size and potential for accidental siege warfare. The sender argued, "But it's disarmed." The post office responded, "That's not the point." 93. A package arrived completely covered in duct tape. No box, just a giant ball of tape with an address label stuck to it. The post office refused to deliver it, stating that tape alone does not qualify as packaging. The sender argued that duct tape is the strongest material in existence, but postal rules disagreed. Workers spent half an hour trying to open it, only to find a single paperclip inside. 94. A heavy package started leaking something dark red, causing immediate panic among postal workers. When opened, they found a completely thawed, dripping raw steak. The post office rejected it, classifying it as a health hazard. The sender later argued, "I thought overnight shipping meant it would stay cold." 95. A man tried to mail a metal safe with no box, just a shipping label slapped on the front. Postal workers refused, explaining that mail should not require a crowbar to open. The sender was frustrated, arguing, "But isn't the post office all about security?" 96. Someone mailed a potato, dressed as a tiny businessman. The potato had a suit drawn on it, complete with a tie and little googly eyes, and the sender even called it Mr. Spudsworth. The post office rejected it for being an incomplete package, but honestly, you have to appreciate the creativity. Imagine being the postal worker who had to tell someone, "Sorry, we don't ship sentient vegetables." 97. A letter arrived at the post office containing just one playing card, no envelope, just the card itself with a stamp stuck to it. The post office rejected it for insufficient packaging, but the sender argued it's still a form of communication. Would you count a single card as legitimate mail, or is this just lazy letter writing? 98. Someone attempted to mail a fully functional fog machine set to activate on a timer. Halfway through transit, it switched on, filling the sorting facility with thick mist. Postal workers, thinking they were in the middle of a fire or supernatural event, evacuated the building before realizing the source. The package was immediately rejected, and the sender was banned from shipping theatrical effects ever again. 99. Someone sent a package completely covered in random, nonsensical symbols and drawings, with no legible address. The post office rejected it because no one could figure out where it was supposed to go. The sender later claimed, "I wanted to see if the universe would decide its destination." Do you think they were being philosophical or just wasting postage? 100. A man attempted to mail a life-sized wax statue of himself to his new address, hoping to avoid paying for expensive transport. Postal workers were horrified when they saw what looked like a frozen human figure inside the box, and immediately rejected the shipment. One worker said, "For a second, I thought we had an actual crime scene in the mailroom." 101. Someone attempted to mail a single balloon animal, fully inflated, with a shipping label attached to one of its legs. The post office rejected it, stating that mail should not pop mid-delivery. The sender argued, "But it's art." Postal workers weren't convinced. Which of these rejected packages left you speechless? Have you ever tried to send something weird through the mail, only to have it sent right back? Let me know in the comments. And if you love hearing about the strangest, craziest real-life stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You won't believe what we have coming next.